what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. Hey, good morning. What's up, world? Welcome to another edition of I Mix What I Like Live. It's good to be back with you again. I'm Jared Ball. Happy to be your host. And we don't have a lot of time this morning, so we'll get moving here. But and because usually, since I'm often encouraging some sort of reminder of a reference to political prisoners, anyway. It's sort of perfect that we sort of skip past that for the moment. But please do go to imixwhatilike.org and subscribe there, because that way you don't miss any of the work that I and my colleagues are doing across multimedia. And at I Mix What I Like for all your relevant social media as well. And of course, you get all the archives of all the now decades of work that's been done there, including what I put out just this morning again was the last time I saw this brother, which was, at least in person, which was 3 years ago at the Millions for Prisoners March in Washington, D.C. in support of political prisoners, where we ran into and got to interview and talk to former political prisoners Albert Woodfox and Laura Whitehorn. So I'll put that link up when we post this video, again, just so people can see that as well, because that interview is really important. And it's something I'm going to ask our guest about in just a minute, because something that Brother Woodfox said when I rewatched it before this morning resonated, and I wanted to highlight that. So turning to that guest who's joining me this morning, and I want to say before that, I appreciate him, because we were planning to have this conversation by phone, just as a preliminary thing, but watching some stuff this morning, I was like, man, a lot of the media that I would turn to is either on hiatus or just not hitting it for me this morning. So I was thinking, well, if I'm going to talk to him, and I'm feeling that even my media environment in the moment is lacking. One of the reasons why I want to do this broadcasting and have always wanted to do some sort of media is to create a media environment that I've not had or been able to enjoy, or to help create it. So I said, I asked him, can we just do this live and work out what our planning for what I hope to be a regular segment with him, just do it live and provide some conversation for some others, maybe feeling how I'm feeling, for them to chop up and think about as well. So, and he was gracious enough to do it on the fly. So I'm talking about, again, a Professor Karanja Keita Carroll, who is currently a member of the Department of Black and Latinx Studies at Baruch College, part of the CUNY network. And his teaching and research interests revolve around African-centered theory and methodology, with an emphasis on social and psychological theory. And of course, his focus is often on political prisoners. Brother Carroll, good morning and welcome to you. It's good to see you again. Thanks for doing this.
Good morning, man. I get a text 7 a.m. or whatever it was, and I said to my wife, I was like, but I'm gonna do it, okay? As a matter of fact, everything that I'm supposed to be on break this week. Everything I've done this week has been about political prisoners. So I said, if I had a chance to talk to you, we could do this and try to figure out what the plan is going to be moving forward.
Right. Well, again, a shout out to our sister, Dr. Iyeli Ichile, who hosted you as part of her series this past semester. And I watched this presentation you did on political prisoners. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, because this is something I'm always wanting to talk about. Why don't we just link this up? I mean, there's no reason. You're always, tweeting about, reminding us about these folks. And so why not just make it? So my point was, what I'm suggesting and still inviting is that whenever you are, because you are, among those in that I'm associated with, you are constantly attuned to what's happening and what has happened with these political prisoners. So I'm whenever you have something you want to say or need to, share, I would love to host it and invite conversation with whoever shows up around that. So anyway, that's what I'm suggesting. And with the live, anyway,
I'm down for it. I think that attention and the right attention needs to be given to these folks who've been locked up senselessly some of them, 40 plus years. So anytime that I have anything that I know that I can share, and this platform is available, I will be able to try to do that because I'll just tell you, like, I came to political prisoner work through my prison education work. Like, I was teaching classes around African history and culture in prison, and then I was reading about this dude named Anthony Bottom, and then I found out that Jaleel had gone through a school that I was teaching at and gotten degrees there, and I was like, it's just crazy because when I left graduate school, I wasn't doing any of this type stuff. I might have been teaching in prisons, but not thinking about more specifically this work around political prisoners.
Yeah, I hear you. And again, my bad, man. Real quick, I just wanted you to see if you could I don't know. I thought we had it adjust a little bit because I don't want your face to get blocked by your name. I want people to see both if they can.
I'm leaning.
Yeah, I hear you. Right.
I'm leaning.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, that's something I would want to come back to. Maybe we'll talk about that in as we go over time, because I know we don't have all the time in the world this morning. But just the experience of teaching in prisons, which I've done a little bit, but not nearly as much as I know you and others have, and it's there's a lot to be said about that. But one of the reasons why I certainly like to focus on this, not only politically and philosophically, do I agree with most of these political prisoners, and usually we're talking about the ones that come out of the what's loosely described as the Black liberation struggle, is because is that as I look at a lot of alternative media, particularly among the white alternative press, when they talk about what they would consider political imprisonment, they're usually talking about Julian Assange or Chelsea Manning or Ed Snowden, all of which I think are righteous cases that we should be paying attention to more because of not only because they I think they're important on their own, but because of what I think they portend for us and the political prisoners we reflect on. But they don't ever talk about the political prisoners that we talk about. And I've always thought that was among the many a massive problem and contradiction. And I used to say when he was still alive that even when they were always focused on then Bradley Manning, that he wasn't even the first and white Manning political prisoner, that there was a Tom Manning who has since passed on, who was locked up for his political work in service of some righteous struggles in this country as well. But they never talked about him at all.
Right.
So anyway, so who are some of the folks that you are focused on most immediately right now that you might think, and feel free to respond to anything I just said, but who that you might think we need to be? I mean, there's so many still left, unfortunately, but who you might think, or who you are looking at right now, or some issues coming up for, or anything. I don't know.
So, I mean, to go back to the first point about who gets the attention and focus, I mean, I think that, our political prisoners, the ones that have been committed to the liberation of African people, they were like going against the state in a very direct way, with the solution being liberation, separation, or whatever. When you deal with Chelsea Manning and so forth and so on, they're just opening up issues with the state. So I think that there's a difference, and that's one of the reasons why they're not going to include us, because we're like saying this whole thing is corrupt, and these other folks are like, well, that little point right there, that's the issue right there. So as far as the people that I'm focusing on, honestly, everybody, but it's right now, I think it's folks like Ed Poindexter in Omaha. I think 40 plus years. Sundiata Acoli. Who else? Matulu Shakur, H. Rat Brown. Those are just Russell Maroon Schultz. Those are the folks, right there. And when you go through them, at least 4 of the 5 names that I've mentioned, they've all had a bout with COVID.
That's right.
And this is the thing that, like, a reason why this becomes extremely more important is, like, number one, they shouldn't be locked up. Number two, they shouldn't have been locked up this long. But now when we have this COVID thing running rampant through these prisons, these brothers are getting it. And, luckily they're able to beat it, but they shouldn't be in there to be susceptible to getting it in the first place.
Didn't Mumia get COVID too, or I know he was dealing with several things, but
he was dealing with several things. I'm not 100% sure. To be honest with you, like everybody talks about Mumia, so I'm like, I let him, I let him do that.
Okay, fair.
Because I know that there is something that recently happened with his case, and I don't know the details of it, but yeah.
No, yeah, we were just talking about him too, but I just not specific to the issue of COVID. But yeah, that's I'm glad you make that point. When I went back to I was thinking about the last time we saw each other live at that march, and I went back just this morning and watched just a 7-minute interview with Laura Whitehorn and Albert Woodfox, and there was something that he said that Woodfox said that I don't think, as much as we all talk about the 13th Amendment and it not abolishing enslavement and just requiring imprisonment or conviction of a crime first, I don't think about, anyway, he said it in a way that I don't think I've thought about it in this quite, anyway, but he said that what the 13th Amendment did was transfer the ownership or the rights to controls in the process of enslavement from private hands to the state and federal control. And I thought about that. I thought that was interesting that because, as I know, some have argued historically about the history of this country, some have said we need to reframe the so-called Civil War to understand that this was really, certainly some Marxists have said this, for instance, that we need to understand it as a colonial takeover of the mother country North, conquering its southern natural resource producing colonial territories and getting rid of the plantation class as the intermediary. So I thought about that as he said that, because also then I said, because then it has been reprivatized, that is through the state and federal government, in many cases at least, to private equity groups, corporations, hedge funds who own so much of the privatized prison industrial complex now. So anyway, that was it. I was just thinking about how interesting that was, and I thought I would just raise that with you. We didn't have a plan this morning, but as I heard that, I just said, wow, that's kind of interesting. And then to your point, these Black liberationist political prisoners, without maybe labeling it that way, we're saying we need to address ourselves and destroy this system that would allow for this process to continue. So part of what they were doing was looking to attack that very process. Now, of course, it has ensnared them, and we're trying to still highlight that. So anyway, any thoughts about it?
Brother, listen, I wish you would have told me that before we came on.
Well, I didn't. There was no time. Honestly, it was literally like click, and then we were talking.
I have no words at this point. I mean, Woodfox's analysis is on point. And like you said, these political prisoners that were challenging the existence of the state as we see it. But I think I would also stress that a good portion of them were advancing the idea that we just give us the Republic of New Africa. We take in New Africa. That was the solution. And I think that's another component of political prisoners that we really don't deal with, that ideologically they were saying, no, we want to leave this. We want to be able to have our own space to determine how we're going to move forward as a nation. There's a couple of things, like when I think of political prisoners, what comes to mind, to circle back, and we'll probably talk about this in more detail later. One of the things that annoys me, especially within Africana studies circles, is that we don't talk about political prisoners the way that we need to. Like, we got Jalil, we have Russell Maroon Schultz, we got Safia Bukhari, who lived struggle and theorized struggle. And this is the thing that like, when I started reading Jalil real closely, I was like, why am I not talking about this in my graduate education when I'm learning about the history and experiences of African people. We're not. So like one of the things that I've tried to do is infuse political prisoners whenever I teach the intro to Africana Studies class, whenever I teach a lower level division class, because these students may never know that we got people locked up for their ideas, because they were a threat to the state. That's the only reason why they were locked up. Okay. And then later people want to try to pin bogus crimes on folks. So, again, the political prisoner stuff goes through my head, and this is what comes out.
No, I love that. And in fact, before I forget, since I'm just taking over the intro to African diaspora studies at the class of spring at Morgan, and again, anybody at Morgan need a class, sign up. It's gonna be dope. Especially since I'm about to ask for Professor Carroll to share his syllabus with me for his intro class, because of exactly, well, for a number of reasons, but specifically because of just what you just said. First of all, I'm serious. Please do share that syllabus with me.
I got you. I have my running list of things I need to hit you up when we get off of this.
Yeah. But I want to do the same thing because I think your point is exactly right. I haven't done enough. A lot of Africana classes I took coming through the process years ago didn't do it at all. Even with some brilliant and legendary thinkers, political prisoners just don't factor in as producing the thought and having produced the thought that we need to infuse in our work.
That's right.
You're right.
When especially like I'm someone who loves theory. All right, like that's I enjoy it. But when I think about the major theorists who've been advancing African-centered, Afrocentric, whichever way you want to slice it and dice it, they don't be engaging political prisoners. They act as if they sitting in a ivory tower, whatever, theorizing some stuff. And it's like, hold up. We got brothers and sisters locked up in cells who did more work to get in that cell, and they're doing more work while they're in that cell, trying to have us think through what we in right now. It's just important work.
No, you're right. And no, you're right. And when you read, and they produce work. I mean, to your point, they produce work. When you read "We Are Our Own Liberators" from Jaleel, when we read Maroon the Implacable.
Yep.
I mean, I think, and that's why I keep telling Daruba, even stop putting all this genius stuff on your Facebook posts and put it on a blog at least, so we can more easily catalog all of this brilliant analysis you just throw away as a comment.
There's so much. Like I told you, I sit with Otri Latulu probably once a week, and I just sit and pick that brother's brain, and we just talk and we analyze. And I'm just waiting for the day when he's like, all right, let's just put this all together and get it out, because it's just I don't know. It's something about those brothers and sisters who were in the movement and experienced it, that they're just thinking, and they're continuing to think critically about what's going on. And this is one thing that I tell my students. And Greg Carr has said this, that you think that these folks are just, distant relics of the past. I'm like, no, these brothers and sisters are still alive. They're still with us, and they still have us thinking critically and want us to get out of the situation that we're in. But we just put them in a book that we don't even read.
That's right. Absolutely. So look, man, I look forward to first of all, we appreciate this.
All right.
Yep, right up the street here from at least where I am in Cumberland. That's right.
I'll add this about Sundiata. He turns 84 on January 14th of this year. It would be great if he got some birthday letters. Birthday letters are good, as opposed to the cards. If y'all are going to write letters, use white paper and black ink. Don't send any cards that got special glitters and all that types of stuff, because he's not going to get it. But the letters will be wonderful, So
when is his birthday? I'm sorry, I missed.
January 14th.
Yeah. And you're going to come back and we're going to do a birthday celebratory something.
We're gonna do a political prisoner show, and we'll mention some stuff about Sundiata.
This is the point right here. That's what I'm saying. That's what, and this people got mad at me a couple years ago when I posted a letter that Jaleel asked me to post that he wrote. And people got mad at me because in it, one of his points was everybody keeps saying Asada taught me and Asada this, but they don't even mention Sundiata, who was her comrade and is like we say right down the street in Cumberland. And then people got mad at me, like I was saying I'm hating on Black Lives Matter and all this other stuff. And I'm saying, first of all, he said it. Second of all, he is right. Third of all, I mean, anyway.
But listen, let me tell you this. Whenever I teach, and I know that my name is getting caught up in the thing, but whenever I teach about Sundiata, I start with everybody knows Asada. All right. I then say, how many of you know Sundiata? Nobody. How many know Zayd Shakur? Nobody. And I'm like, these were the people who were in the car with her. All right. So let's get the whole story together as opposed to only highlighting one person. And the thing is that we need to highlight Asada because she got free. But at the same rate, we need to deal with the fact that Zayd Shakur was a wonderful organizer who was taken out by the state that day that we don't deal with. And we also got to deal with the fact that Sundiata was able to run for his life. I don't know how long. He was free for a minute, but then they got him, and they've had him for 40 plus years. We need the whole story, because if we don't get the whole story, we can't actually be motivated to act because we only know a piece of the story.
And even then, unfortunately, I don't even know that the whole story can ever or will ever be told publicly because for a lot of different reasons. So yep. we don't even get that. We have to let some imagination maybe fill in some of the blanks, but in terms of, I think, but your point is well taken that we need to know at least much more of the story. And anyway, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this and to sort of again institutionalize our friendship here in this way is because it helps keep me honest also. That I don't think anything that we want to be doing, including a focus on political prisoners, can be done in isolation. And we all need to be kept on point. So I lose focus. I start, going down rabbit holes intellectually in other directions, and start like, and even with interviewing, I'm like, I just want to interview about this and ask people about that, and then you need people to be like, well, hold up, man, we don't forget this. And even as you have this Panther thing in your background on a live stream, it can't just be a background on a live stream. It has to be anyway. So anyway, that's what
But listen, I'll tell you this. I've been following you for a while now, and I think I remember those interviews that you did with the Ruba bin Wahad that got me thinking more critically about this idea of these former political prisoners are here, are alive, and they're still processing. But your show and your work brings it to the forefront. So it's just important and necessary. And like you said, the dialogue is so important. Like, I'm reading and rereading the words of these folks, and you're reflecting on some other stuff, and you say something, and boom, it connects to another idea. So the dialogue becomes important, and it also allows us to bring more attention to these elders.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly going through some of the, I appreciate this. You know what? I'm not sure. I love the message on the shirt, but I'm not sure I'm comfortable publicly endorsing where it came from. I need to get some more information. I think I was I might have been misled about the ownership of the company that I got it from. So it is a nice FTP message, with a lot of different versions that does end with free the political prisoners.
Well, that's what's up.
But before I would even on a little live stream YouTube thing publicly endorse something, I would want to make sure it was more proper. But feel free to email me separately. I make sure I like it Gmail, and I'll let you know. But I want to anyway. There's no silly promo for anything that isn't So anyway, but look, brother Carroll, man, absolutely 235 worldwide. Hey, I think it's still a feature in the feature section at imixwhatilike.org. One of my favorite interviews with Dhoruba is where he breaks down the story of Kamal Siddiqui and the Black Liberation Army in ways that I haven't seen done very, very many places. And in fact, Kamal's daughter had even contacted me after that, praising that interview. And I'm not sure why we haven't built since then, but yeah, I would encourage people to definitely learn more about that. Because even what they put Kamal through trying to get to Asada, I mean, it's anyway, man. So, Brother Carroll, I appreciate your work, and I definitely want, and we also want to infuse some discussion about the other facets of your focus too on African-centered psychology and theory and practice, etc. So, we'll find ways of working that in when we do these segments. But I just want to wrap myself up by saying I want these to be routine and regular, and whenever we can just pop on and knock out a quick segment and.
Listen, I'm down for it. January 14th, let me get back and we can, talk some more stuff about political prisoners, spend a little bit of time acknowledging, Sundiata's birthday. Yeah, Safia. Amazing.
Oh man.
Amazing. We had a MXGM New York City study group for Black August, and we were reading her piece. It's beautiful work that needs to be highlighted.
War before, right? War, it does. And in fact, because she had that line that we quote, in fact, we'll be trying to get the hate awards back up again this year, but she had that line that we quote on, for that you have to, a revolutionary has to subject themselves to the rapier knife of criticism. Like, you got to be ready to get, you know what I mean? Like, you got to be ready to get critiqued. And struggle with people, man. She was dope, man. And anyway, exactly right. And thank you for raising that. And Brother Carroll, thank you as well. I know you got to run, man, but go ahead, take the last word, man. Go ahead.
I do, but I will say that regular sessions, I'm up for it. Maybe we can even do something around folks' birthdays.
Absolutely.
I mean, if we're gonna do something on the 14th. I can kind of try to figure that out so that we do something on someone's birthday, and then if there's any other information we can add about political prisoner stuff. But we gotta highlight these brothers and sisters and bring the attention that's necessary. And it's also about understanding the connections between our political prisoners here and other political prisoners out in the world. Like, what's the connection between our political prisoners and those political prisoners in Palestine, in Colombia? So that's how I'm thinking about this. And I'm going to use this to kind of throw some ideas out, and then maybe I'll eventually write them up.
Let's do it. And please do. And because that's how they think of themselves. Many of their political think of themselves connected to those struggles and those prisoners as well. So absolutely. Exactly. I love it.
All right, brother.
Yeah. Thank you very much, man. Take care, man. And we thank Dr. Carroll for that and for these future segments that I'm very much looking forward to. Thanks to all of you for joining us this morning and supporting the conversation. Please do like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And those who have sent in some financial support, in fact, just this morning, sent all of that again over to the Jericho movement. So if it's easier somehow to send it to me, that's where it gets sent. Otherwise, you can go to thejerichomovement.com at the request of political prisoners, because there is so much good work and support for political prisoners happening through the Jericho movement. And we are endeavoring to have some of them on with us as well to talk more about that work. So please do all of that and click like, share, and subscribe for all of the stuff here as well. You know what? We will talk about that. And please do go and check the conversations we've had recently with Lynn Washington and Dr. Todd Stephen Burrows. We did 2 segments on that documentary and the movement. And then please also stay tuned as we're still endeavoring to get Pam Africa to come on as well. So to talk about it, because she says she has a lot to say about that as well. So anyway, good people, thanks again for joining us this morning. And as always to you, we say peace if you're willing to fight for it, as did Fred Hampton. And we'll catch you next time here at I Mix What I Like. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.